Okay, so welcome everyone to today's session. We're episode 3 of the Mind Couch, and we're looking today at collaboration and how to keep a teaming culture. So far in the series, we've looked at how to stay connected, so how to look after your own well-being and kind of keep yourself in line and on top of everything that you want to do. And then we moved over last week into kind of productivity and looking at motivations and productivity and what you need to do. This week, we're actually going to be focusing more on the team aspect. So how do you keep a teaming culture going? And how do you collaborate, and how do you do that whether you're still working with a smaller team or whether you're actually working from home or you're furloughed, and how do you keep that teaming culture going? And then the rest of the series we've got next week is the habit session, so how to make and break habits. That is going to be a day forward, just purely because of the bank holiday, so it moves the entire training schedule over by one day, so it's going to be on Wednesday next week at 11 a.m. And then we go into navigating the change, so looking at how to kind of, as we're going through this big change process as a company in particular, and with the new rollout of SuperPay and the new product, how does that look and how do you deal with that? And then we've added in a guest session in June. We're going to carry on the sessions in June as well, but Chris Hatfield is going to host a session for us on the 9th of June, which is about the importance of self-awareness as well. So some exciting sessions coming up, and I hope you'll be able to join us for those. So today's panel is Lewis, Ian and Jacques, and I'm going to hand over to each of them now just to do a quick intro to themselves, let you know what they do here in the business and a bit about them. So if I can hand over to you, Lewis, do you want to just introduce yourself for us? Oh, Lewis has been having, oh, there we go.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Lewis. I'm a partnership manager. Hopefully you will recognise me or see me around. My job is to look after partners. We have about 500 EPOS resellers and software houses, and my job is to look after them, manage the relationships. And at the moment, I'm the only one kind of still going while the team's on furlough. So we have a small team at the moment, and I'll talk a bit more about that in the webinar. But yeah, that's me.
Great, thanks, Lewis. Do you want to go next, Ian?
Hi there, I'm Ian. I'm the second in command deputy manager sort of thing on the retention team, or the specialist team as we know it. Been with Payment Sense for just coming up 3 years and worked my way through the customer support, worked with the complaints department for quite a while as well. And we've got a team of 8 people, no one on furlough at the moment, spending a lot of time dealing with the customers and trying to reassure them what's going on through coronavirus while we're working from home.
Brilliant, thank you, Ian. And Jacques, do you want to just introduce yourself as well?
Hey everyone, I'm Jacques. I am now the Marketing Operations Manager. I joined Payment Sense just over 2 years ago doing kind of email marketing. You'll probably see me working very closely with Katie and Alex. I'm part of the customer experience team. And any of your email or kind of need or any kind of those needs, I'm the guy to kind of help you out.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay guys, so I just want to, as we always do, introduce a bit more about the concept and what we're talking about today, and then we'll move over into the panel discussion, which will be the main part of today's session. So I just want to take a moment now to think about what we value as a good team. So what traits, values and behaviours do we think make up a good team? So take a moment, either just think about it mentally, write it down if you want to, or if you want to share it with us, pop it into the chat box as well. I'd love to see kind of what your thoughts are on it. But what traits, values and behaviours do you think makes a good team? Have a think about what you'd say would make a good team, a team culture. Like I said, you can write it down. If you want to share them, by all means do. We'd love to see them in the chat boxes. But what do you think is it that it makes a good working team together? And we're gonna talk about these with the panelists as well. So that's our first question to the panel today as well. What are their values and behaviours that make a good team? Okay. So keep that in mind throughout this session, because I want to see if that aligns to what we've got. Fad, great, you've shared one of yours. So good communication within the team environment. I agree, communication is key. We've talked about that in a lot of the webinars recently, actually, around the value of good communication. And I think that becomes even more prevalent, doesn't it, when we're working remotely and working from home. But yeah, you're right, with every member of the team, not just the manager to the team members. It needs to be every single person. Great. Good. All right. If there's any others, guys, do share them. Openness. Yes, 100%. Openness is such a good one. Thanks, Alice, for sharing that. It has to be an open relationship. You have to be able to talk about the good and the bad, and challenge and question. Good. All right. So looking at kind of the things that make the traits of a good team, then you've got your first group on there. So we're going to come to teaming in a second, but the traits of a good team, a lot of the time they come down to common goals. So having a common goal for where you're all working to, having this kind of greater purpose, whether that's a team goal, maybe that's a team incentive that you put in place in order to achieve that. Perhaps it's collectively, it's a KPI that you've all got to work towards, something you've all got to do. But normally a team has a common goal, and that's a good grounding of a team. Then you have the second thing, which is about sharing knowledge. So being able to share your knowledge across the team, being able to talk to each other, being able to share best practices, being able to teach each other how to do things, being able to digest the information. Maybe one person knows it and shares it across the whole team, but having a good sort of shared knowledge of what you're doing as well. And then the final thing is working together. So that's the things like your communication, your openness with each other, being able to question each other, being able to work on projects together, and maybe just physically sitting next to someone is kind of your idea of working together as well, and actually being next to them face to face, which obviously we have to then adapt for in this new world when we're working remotely and try to figure that piece out. But there's this new concept that's kind of come into the forefront of organizations, and it's around this whole teaming concept. So it's this idea that teaming, it's a verb, not a noun, which I've got on there. So it's a doing word. So you actually do it. You're not just named as a teaming team, if you like. So you actually have an action to do with teaming. And what it relates to is the fact that organizations are able to respond a lot quicker to opportunities, to threats, be able to pivot a lot quicker, be able to move towards their kind of goals and their higher purpose, and being able to achieve that in a lot better way by having these kind of cross-functional teams, and teams that can really, like, you can put a person with anyone and you can put groups of people together, and it just works because they're teaming. They're not just a team, a set team that can sometimes take years to get to that kind of traits of a good team. And the traits that we come up against with good teaming is things like collaboration. So being able to actually collaborate, no matter who it's with, no matter what teams you guys are put into, how do you collaborate with your team, and how do you coordinate with them as well, and how do you coordinate others to achieve what you need to achieve as well. So again, those are kind of factors of not just necessarily a good team, but good teaming practice. And the last one is questioning, which again goes back to Alice's point on openness. So being able to question people, ask the right questions, but also challenge people as well, and kind of really, and that then leads to that collaboration piece, where you can really get some really good collaboration and innovation as well by having good questioning amongst you and having a good practice with that as well. Now, the picture on the right hand side, I don't know if you guys recognize it at all, but it's the Chilean miners. And the reason I'm using this is because it's a great example of teaming. So the Chilean miners, for those that don't know, were stuck underground for 33 days. So they got concaved, all the mines, and they got stuck under there, and people thought they wouldn't survive. And they thought they wouldn't come out, they wouldn't be able to get them out. And the Chilean government drew in great minds from all over the world. So they used people from NASA, they used scientists, they used medics, they used miners themselves, they used people from all different walks of life, from all different kind of corners of the globe, and brought them all together. Not necessarily physically either, there was a lot doing it remotely as well, but they had to work out and solve how they were going to get all of the miners out. And they did. They got the miners out. All of them came out after 33 days. They all came out alive as well. But they had to utilize so many different people and skill sets. And that's a really good example of teaming. because that just shows you that you don't need to have this years and years of working together. You can actually just have a teaming skill set that allows you to work effectively together. And that's the kind of the aim of today, is how do we keep a teaming culture going when we're working remotely, and where some people are brand new to the business and haven't been here for that long. How do they actually become part of a team as well, and kind of keep that up, and the benefits of it. So that's a really great example, and there's some really good work by Professor Amy Edmondson. I'll share it after the session for anyone that's interested. And she talks a lot about teaming. She's done a lot of research and studies and things into it, and she's an organisational design specialist, so she talks about how to use that for effective performance building as well. So it's really good insights, and something that I'd really recommend reading as well if you're interested. So we've looked at kind of what it is and what we value for teams. I just want to kind of finish my piece on the benefits of good teamwork, and why it's really important that you don't just focus on yourselves and what you're doing, but actually still make sure you keep up your teaming concept, your teaming culture as well, whether you're working from home, whether you're on furlough, whatever kind of situation it is. What are the benefits of actually having good teamwork? So just to go through them before we hand over to the panelists. The first one is great ideas don't come from lone stars. So this whole idea that you have to work on your own and you have to be the shining star doesn't actually help with great idea generation. An example of this is Albert Einstein, for example, and his theory of relativity. He didn't come up with that solely on his own. He would have talked it through with others, with experts, with colleagues, with other scientists, and that would have helped shape his idea. So it's important to kind of realise that it's not just about one person coming up with an idea. Actually, if you talk it through with your colleagues, if you ask others in your team, you'll get good insights as to, right, well, what have they learned from past experience of doing this? Perhaps they'll tell you about risks that you haven't thought of and how you need to overcome those. Perhaps they'll come up with something else to add on to it as well, so it kind of just starts to build your idea bigger and bigger. So that's one benefit of teamwork and working with your team. With that, similarly, you've got diversity helps with innovation. So just having different minds on it in itself helps come up with new ideas. Having diverse mindsets across your team that will help you actually think about what to do and how to do it. And it's always good to talk things through with people either in your team or outside of your team as well, so get some insights to what their learnings are and what they do. It's proven, it makes you happy. We know that human interaction is a really important thing, and particularly now it's hard because we're not seeing people physically. So you do need to keep up that communication with team members, and you need to create opportunities to kind of have that interaction with them as well, as collectively as a group, not just always one-on-one as well. So attending your quiz nights, your weekly quiz nights, or the pub quiz that Jack does, or any of the things that People Team put on is a really good way to kind of keep that. And it's proven it does make you happier to be around people. You learn from those around you. So we know this, like 20% of what you learn on a job, they say, is from your peer group. So you learn from those around you, and it's important that you utilize that. And again, you're not just going to learn solely on your own. You're going to need to use other people's insights and experience and best practices and advice and things like that. So learn from them around you as well, and utilize what you have collectively in your team and in your groups. Shared workload eases burnout. I think that's a no-brainer with that one. If you're the only person in your role and you're the only person that can physically do it, you risk burnout if you don't manage your workload properly. Collectively as a team, you can share that workload. So an example would be in our contact centres. Obviously, it's not one person answering every single call, it's shared out across everyone, and it makes it easier so you can actually manage the volume of calls that come in. So sharing your workload is a really important one. Dividing your work lets your skills grow. So by dividing work out across the team, it allows you to focus properly on developing your skill set within that area. So you actually have time, it frees up time for you to do that. Perhaps it also allows you to put a bit more time into the next stage, taking it a step forward, so you learn a bit more about how to do that. Or perhaps it allows you to take on a different project because you've shared your workload as well, which again can help with your skills development. So that's a really important one as well. And recognition improves productivity. So we know that managers will give recognition and they'll tell you when a job's well done, but there's also a good kind of study that shows that actually recognition from your teammates also improves your productivity, because you feel collectively like you've got a purpose within your group to actually deliver something. So that improves your productivity and improves your kind of ability to go forward and do that. Working in a team helps you take risks. We know that if it's on you to do something and take that risk, it can be a lot more daunting than if it's on the team to take that risk. So sharing that risk kind of allows you to take more risks, I suppose, is the kind of concept on there. So it's proven again that it does mean people who work in teams are more likely to take the risk, because collectively it's everyone's responsibility rather than you as an individual person, at which point you'd probably say, oh, maybe not. If it's going to be on me, I don't really want to take that responsibility. I think all of these points have kind of already led to point number 9 there. You are less stressed by being in part of the team. And you do feel that by being around people, by sharing workload, by having this kind of collective goal, it de-stresses you as well. When you work independently, when you work on your own, it can be, you take on all the stresses of everything. So yeah, it's a benefit of being a part of a team. And then finally, good communication boosts creativity. So I think, again, we've kind of touched on that already. But the fact that you can share ideas, share best practices, find out what people learn, use their experience, have just really great communication, just boosts your creativity as a whole anyway, and it allows you to explore new ideas and new concepts and things. So overall, championing teamwork there, just saying that it's important that we don't neglect the team aspect of this, particularly when we're working remotely and working on our own, or we're in furlough as well. It's important that we kind of appreciate the benefits of being a part of a team and how we can actually do that as well, and how we take that onto the next level with teaming as well, if you want to take it a stage further where you start to work across different teams as well. So on that note, we're going to dive into our panel discussion. I'm going to kick it off with Lewis first. So Lewis, I'm going to hand over to you. Can you first of all start off by telling us what teaming is to you, why is it important, and what are the values that you hold with it?
Thanks, Sheila. I mean, you covered a lot already, obviously, but for me, a team is kind of a bit like a support network. I don't think right now we'd be getting by without being in our individual teams. And in every job, I think it's vitally important that it's almost like your family behind you, kind of supporting you. That's how I feel. It's important that you have one there to share expertise with, to help each other with problems, and sharing workload, because not everybody will always be quiet. You have people that be very, very busy at times and people that sometimes aren't. So sharing out workload and picking people up when they're down as well. Again, in a team, you're not going to have everyone on the same kind of wavelength the whole time. Everyone's going to be up and down, and it's important that you're there to support people because they'll be there to support you. And I often think that a good team can often make a place more enjoyable to work. Sometimes people who might not even have great jobs will stay in it because they love their team. And I think that says it all, really. If you have people in your team that you can trust, that you like, that you don't have to get on with them in a, outside of work. But if you like them and you respect them and you know they're there for you the whole time, your job can be so much easier. And you actually look forward to coming to work every day, to speaking to them every day. So I see it as on a personal level a little bit. I think that if I worked for a company and a team that I didn't get on with or didn't like, I would really, really struggle. So obviously the work aspect of it is important, but it comes down to respect and looking after each other. And if you have that, it will set you a long way anyway, because you know that you can always have the support and the backing of people behind you. So I think that's probably what it means to me.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you make a really great point there as well around recognising it in others as well, and kind of boosting them up. I think often we can kind of forget about that. Again, we look inwards, don't we, rather than around us and what people need around us as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really good. Okay, Ian, over to you. What are kind of your values with teaming, and what's important to you?
Thanks. I think to echo what both you, Sheila, and Lewis have said, there's a reason why we have teams, not individuals, doing things. Based in the Hull office with customer service, one person can't deal with 1,000+ calls a day. It takes a group of people set with a common goal. And I think focusing a group on a common goal creates the team to start with. But they also, every individual that makes up that team needs to understand how much they contribute and how valued their position is as well. They need to know that they make a difference to achieve that team's goal. With the specialist team, we've got individual roles for people so that they have their own little niche bit that they do on their own, but their little niche bit makes up part of what our team strives to achieve. Communication, I think it was Fad put in the chat, hi Fad, about the communication being key, and then we had honesty as well. And it is, to get a team working, they need to know where they sit in the machine that is the team, and how important the cog that they are is to achieve the end result. So we spend a lot of time with our guys focusing on how each person achieves the end result that we have. We look at the weaknesses and the strengths, and it is being honest with them and highlighting something that maybe needs to be done differently, but using it as a way of developing not just an individual, but everybody together, so that we're able to standardize attitudes towards how we do things, and everybody works off the same principles. I'm very lucky. The specialist team is a great bunch. They really are. They have real firm belief in what we're there to do. So a lot of the work's done for us from the individuals we have, but you have to take that and run with it. You have to keep that being the drive behind a group of people. And these guys really do take the goal and believe in it. Every single one of them works for each other. They don't just work for themselves. And by working for each other, the whole team works for Payment Sense. So I think collaboration, communication, honesty are probably three of the most key things in gaining a teaming culture.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ian. Again, I think you've made a really great point around people recognising their own values within teams as well. So taking that time to actually say, actually, what am I contributing to the team, and how am I how am I setting the bigger scope of things and the bigger picture of things. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so finally over to you, Jacques. What's your kind of definition of teaming, and what values do you hold dear?
Thanks, Sheila. I think kind of Sheila, Ian and Lewis have kind of covered what I largely kind of consider to be important. But I think I'd like to add curiosity and empathy. So if you're working in a teaming environment, you need to be curious as to what other people are doing, how do they work, how do they like to get things done, how do they like to communicate, and understanding all those things is really, really important. It's how you're going to build that effective kind of teaming culture, that fit. And then just generally just showing empathy. Everyone is obviously busy, everyone has their own things that they're looking to do, their own goals, their own objectives, and understanding that you don't necessarily have the same objectives, but you're trying to get the same goal done, and kind of fitting that framework to getting things done. So I think that's kind of my contribution to what you've already discussed.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, I think you're right. I think curiosity is a big one, isn't it? And it goes back to that teaming piece about always asking questions and being able to ask questions to get more information, being able to challenge, that kind of thing. Okay, so going back to you, Ian, you talked there about effective communication, and you talked about kind of how you need to get that right and understand strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So when you're in the office, how do you get the kind of effective communication right? And then since you've moved to remote working, how are you still maintaining that? What have you kind of developed in order to do that?
Thanks. So I think one of the biggest things that I miss from being in the office is the visual cues. The visual, and also hearing people on their calls as well. You can hear what they're going through in an individual case. You can see how it's affecting them. So we've had to almost replace being able to see people with additional ways of being involved in what they're doing at all times. Slack's been great. The team have their own channel. The Hull office has several across the board, so that all of the different teams are able to communicate and collaborate with each other. One of the things that hi Lewis.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm just changing over to my.
One of the things that we've done recently is we've actually created, or let them create, their own forum. They have a spokesperson, and they communicate amongst themselves, and they raise things to us that they feel aren't necessarily going correctly. And quite often, they're the guys that are on the front line. They're on the calls. These are the people that actually can highlight any issues with what's going on quicker. So the entire team has a voice to come directly to myself or to Alex, the specialist team manager, and actually raise any concerns with processes, with something that's going on at the moment due to Corona. And they've got a voice, and that's a massive, massive thing for us. We're not able to literally just spin around on my chair and talk to one of them about something I can hear that's going on. They all know that they can approach us at any point if they need to. We've made sure that they understand that they can talk to us about anything. It doesn't have to just be work. We've ensured they know that if there's something going on that due to being locked down on their own or something like that, they want someone to talk to, that we're here. The rest of the team's there for them as well. And I think it was Lewis who mentioned that the team can be like a family. And I agree with that 100%. And it's the sort of dynamic that we've tried to create. So it has been much, much harder being at home, not being able to see and hear the people that I work with. But in order to ensure that we pick up on the same sort of issues or wins that we would normally do in the office, we are monitoring stats like there's no tomorrow. So that, yes, we're monitoring performance, but performance is a great key indicator as to someone's state of mind within that day, sort of thing. We have, as I say, created a forum that gives them a voice. They've already come to us saying, can we look at doing something a slightly different way? And they know not to just come and say, I want this. They come to us and say, we'd like to look at something. And they give us reasons why, because they know their opinion's valued. We have a daily call at 5 o'clock. The lines go off on the specialist team. And every day we ring in and we talk. And again, this is a conversation about the day's work, about family, about everything. And it just keeps everybody completely involved. And it gives us the ability to learn of something we might need to be tinkering with straight away, rather than when it's had a massive effect on cases or an individual or the whole team. It's not been easy being sat in my kitchen while others are sat in their bedrooms, lounges and kitchens as well. But it's increased the amount of different things that I look at to try and make sure that they're all happy, comfortable and okay. It's increased the amount that the guys in the team are asking each other, which is helping us to standardize a lot of practices and processes, and the whole team handle the same sort of situation for a different merchant in the same way as anyone else would. This allows us to share the workload. They all have the confidence that if one of their cases calls in and they're not available for any reason and another agent answers that call, they will get the same standard of service, one, but they'll also get the same company position, the same sort of resolution. So it's given us a real consistency to the team, and it's really cemented the way that these guys see themselves as the parts that make it up. Challenges, though, have definitely been a lack of being able to see and hear what's going on. And we have managed to use monitoring of stats to try and plug that gap to a degree. And touch wood, so far, we're having these calls and everyone is staying motivated. Everyone's happy with the situation, or as happy as they can be, considering everything that's going on. So it's not easy not being sat with people, but communication and honesty is key. So that's what we're driving at, really.
I think you make excellent points there. I mean, you're right about the kind of physical cues that you would use get removed, and therefore you have to kind of come up with alternative behaviours and things like using the Slack channel and building a forum. There's great, and the fact they're now utilising each other rather than just coming to you, again, just kind of shows that team bonding is kind of becoming a bit stronger as well, and hopefully it'll be behaviours that carry on to when they come back into the office. Okay, so Lewis, going back over to you. Just check Lewis is connected. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you are perfect. He's having a bit of internet connection issues.
No, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, so obviously, like you said in your introduction, you're the last partnership manager that's still working. So you've got the whole portfolio, and you're having to rely on a lot of people from other departments to help you deliver because you're super busy right now. So how have you managed to strike up the right working relationships with those people so that work is sophisticated, so that it's effective, and so that you're able to do your job effectively as well?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. Especially at the start when everybody was just suddenly gone, and there was 500 partners left to kind of contact and be the main person there. And the job of the partnership manager typically is to try and improve relationships and to get as much business from the partners as they can, but then to grow the partners so that we grow with them. But obviously, I can't give every single partner the kind of tools to do that at the moment because there are so many. So my job has mainly been kind of problem fixing for all of them, and that requires a lot of using other teams, and it requires a lot of relying on other people to help me. I kind of end up delegating jobs out quite a lot to, and with my team behind me, Hetal, Trelawney, and Hina, we've worked very, very closely every day to make sure that we've all got the right tools to do it. And I don't really know what I do without those three because they kind of keep me going. Trelawney and Hetal, with the work they have to do for me, it makes the day a lot easier, and Hina's support. So with it, as those three behind me, it's been really helpful. In terms of other departments, they've been great. I think one of the biggest problems I've found at Payment Sense is sometimes we don't know what other departments do. We're a little bit kind of all tunnel visioned on our own department, and this has been a really eye-opening time for me because I've had to speak to several other teams, such as Alex Day, the integrations team's been amazing, and the rest of that team, the PSC guys, Dylan. There's a lot of different teams I'm working with, and they're all working really well as a team, which helps our team. I feel like I wouldn't have been able to do this bit without the help of 4 or 5 other different teams that I'm regularly speaking with. So it's kind of managing the relationships with them, working out a process that I have with them at the start and then kind of growing on it. So, for example, with Alex Day, I speak to Alex 20 times a day. He's probably sick of me. But we worked out several processes in place to make sure that we're working together well. And it's the same with Trelawney or Hetal, and even Hina. I know I need to speak to her. So it's just working out when you need people and how you need them. He says he's not sick of me. Thank you, mate. But yeah, it's working out kind of how you need people and they'll back you up, especially after a couple of weeks of working with them. So it's been a lot easier because of other people, I think.
Thank you, Lewis. Yeah, and I think, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It does become like a team effort, particularly at the moment, and for those still in those outside the office as well, like I said, or those who aren't working. But you brought up a really good point there about cross collaboration, and you talked about the fact that getting to know other departments. I completely agree with you. It kind of forces you to get to know other departments, doesn't it? And it creates that behaviour where you have to find out what everyone does. So
yeah, spot on.
Good. All right. So. Sorry, Jacques, I just want to move on to that a little bit more and talk about that cross collaboration. So your work supports across the entire marketing team. You collaborate with many different people and aspects for your role. So how do you get buy-in from the stakeholders that you're working with, and how do you kind of, building on what Lewis has just said there about kind of getting to know people, how do you then start to actually have effective work with it as well?
So to be honest, actually, a lot of my work tends to be I tend to work more collaboratively with people outside the marketing team. So the way that the team is structured right now is that I work within the customer experience team. And a lot of the work they do is all the really hard prep work that I wouldn't be able to do. So understanding kind of campaign requirements, putting together copy, working with copywriters, working with design. I obviously have kind of thoughts and insights that I share at those points, but I largely don't have to deal with that, and that's great. That then leads me to work very closely with kind of the more technical teams within the business. So I work a lot with data, I work with BI, I work with PMs and their tech leads, and that's really exciting because that means that I can work on the hard kind of technical challenges that the kind of marketing team faces, and leave people who are better suited to the jobs I can't do to do their jobs. And that's great because it means we're all working to our strengths, and ultimately that means we deliver kind of a better product. So I think that's been really important for how we work as a team. Yeah, and getting buy-in from stakeholders is generally quite easy, I find, at Payment Sense. So long as you can present a compelling argument, you have data to back you up, no one's going to say no for the sake of saying no. And that's been really, really useful for me. I've had to ask for money for platforms and tools that are generally not cheap. And because I'm able to kind of work with other teams and prove their value, I've been able to get those, and that's been really, really great for I think me and the marketing team in general.
Brilliant. I think you're right. I think kind of showcasing to your stakeholders what's in it for them is a huge help in what you do as well, and that's a good way to get buy-in from people as well. Okay, thank you for that. So just moving back to you, Ian. One of the big things that you have to do as a team, and particularly for you because you're in a team lead role, is to be able to remove blockers for people. So anything that's kind of holding people back in the work that they do. And you can do that individually for yourself, but you in your role, like I said, you do it also for a team. So how do you kind of do that for emotional blockers and the physical blockers of work as well? So thinking about kind of people's well-being and things that might be holding them back. How do you identify them and how do you help them move forward?
Thanks. Not an easy one, really, to be fair. I think a lot of it is down to the relationship that we've built up with the agents. I honestly believe they do completely trust us, and they respect our opinions, they respect our experiences, and they have developed the situation where they know they can come and talk to us. We, as I said before, every workday we have a call at 5 o'clock. So we make sure that we speak to the team. We make sure that they get the opportunity to raise something if there's an issue. We've got a very strong honesty culture within the team. If things need addressing because they're not quite right, then we are able to approach the agents, and we're able to guarantee that they're going to listen, that they're going to appreciate our point of view, that they might have their own opinion that differs, and that they're willing to raise that as well. So we don't end up in the situation where we're giving out orders and we've got a load of followers that are doing them. We've got a collaboration between 8 agents, me kind of in the middle, and then Alex as a team leader, as a team manager. And the dynamic is so open, honest and strong that we've had several instances just since we've been on lockdown where people have come to us about something that's going to affect work but isn't work related, if that makes sense. So emotionally and mentally, everybody's having a hard time at the moment. I don't think anybody's finding lockdown easy. But to have a group of people that have the confidence in you and the trust in you to know that all they have got to do is pick up the phone and to turn around and say, I need 5 minutes, I just need to talk to you. We're able to address situations, we're able to address a lot of these blockers quite quickly, and to the degree where we can see we've helped the individual or the 2 or 3 team members in the scenario. But the most important thing of all is consistency. There's no point in us doing that for a week and then going, right, everybody's fine, that's it, we can concentrate on something else now. We do it every day, every week at random. We're able to see if people are available on the dialer, if they're having admin time or if they're on a call. We will randomly pick agents and we will just give them a call. It's great because the first 10 seconds they're panicking like hell. Why have I got Alex and Ian ringing me? But after a couple of minutes, we just have a bit of a catch up. That's more work orientated during work time, checking on the pressures, checking on how they're coping, anything that's causing them issues. But it is literally just a sort of like a 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, where in the middle of a stressful day, they can just take a breath, sit back, and just have a bit of a release if they need to. I really, really believe that the way it's worked so well is due to the fact that both Alex and myself, I believe I can speak on his behalf, believe in what we're doing and the way we're trying to handle it, which means that we have really bought into the processes we've created, and therefore we generally do care. We want to know that all of our guys are okay, that if there's anything they feel we can help them with, they will come to us and they'll ask. And as a result, they do. So that's the way we've dealt with blockers, is we've made sure that they know they've got two people they can come and talk to. I'm there and I'm not their manager. Alex is. So sometimes if it's something they feel, I want to talk about it, but I don't want to sound like I'm just having a moan about something, that they maybe come to me. They can go to Alex, and they do at times as well. But they've got so many options just within the team, with each other as well, that we're able to identify, work through and remove blockers very, very quickly. And there've already been a few, both work-wise and personal-wise. And the team, I actually believe, a testament to the way we're doing things is really, really working. We've had people unhappy, we've had people happy, but we've all got a whole team that know that they've got people to go to, and people that they can trust to actually listen and care and help where they can.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point, and I think you kind of really draw upon their kind of communication. Again, what we've kind of said the whole way through this, effective communication, but then also consistency. And I think you make a really good point there, that often we can kind of check in with people once or twice and then forget to keep it up. And if you don't keep those communication lines going, people don't feel as comfortable talking about it. Okay, so same question over to you, Jacques. So yours is obviously slightly different in that you're not running a team, but for you, what are your kind of, how do you overcome your emotional or your physical blockers? What do you do?
For me, I think it's just about talking to people. I'm a bit of an odd case in that I'm quite happy being by myself. I don't necessarily feel like I need to talk to people all the time. So for me, communication is just kind of, it's great when I'm working on projects that's really valuable and important. I have a close network of people that I talk to outside of work, which has been obviously very important this time. But within work, it's, for me, less important. But I understand that as part of a team, I do my bit, I take part. What's been great in the marketing team is that every morning at 9 a.m, we kind of have a whole marketing team joins a call and kind of says what we're working on, whether we're facing any blockers, that kind of stuff. And then every 2 weeks on a Friday, we've been doing things like quizzes, we've been doing bingo. Last Friday was great because some people showed what they'd been working on. Typically, we'd be able to see that in the office, but because we're all working from home, people kind of presented what they'd been doing, and everyone kind of got to catch up and see the stuff they'd missed out on. So I think it's just, it's generally just communication. It can't be said enough. I think that's the most important thing here.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the idea of daily stand-ups. We do that in my team as well. And I think it really does help when you can see what other people are working on, what their blockers are. And I've noticed as well, the team now starts to help each other with it as well. So someone brings up a blocker, the other person might be like, actually, I can help you with that. And that creates that good teaming culture, which is good. Okay, so Lewis, going over to you now. You've obviously got quite a few of your team members on furlough. Which perhaps you're not communicating with as much as you would do if they were still working or if we were all still in the office. So how are you kind of keeping up relationships with them? So when they come back, you have a smooth handover with all your accounts, you're able to kind of work quite well together when they're all back in the office and back working?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not a position I ever thought I'd find myself in, to be honest. Where kind of I'm responsible for everyone else's partners, and it's a bit scary in some ways. But I'm communicating with them all when I need to. So they're not supposed to be working. It's quite important that they're not working, obviously, and they're furloughed, and they're not supposed to be doing anything. So I try and obviously just keep them out of any matters that random ad hoc matters in the day, such as like the partner has an issue with one of their leads. They don't really need to know that. But anything big, any sort of new route any of their partners are going down, any sort of big decisions that need to be made, any real other bad feedback or any problem that I don't know the answer to, I know I can speak to them for. So I've phoned each of them. I've got, I think there's eight of them, nine others, and I've spoken to each of them on the phone and WhatsApped. I wouldn't say that regularly, but I have to, because there are things that I don't know about each person's partner. Everyone knows their portfolio very well, especially you guys who have been here 3 or 4 years and have had the same partners for 3 or 4 years. Those are relationships that I can't recreate in a couple of weeks. So I am relying on their expertise. So I'm trying not to work too much, but I'm copying them into emails that are important. I'm making sure that if there are any big decisions that need to be made, such as starting a new initiative or something like that, that they are very much in the loop and they're aware, and they've got all the tools that when they come back they can tackle it. And I'm planning on sitting down with each of them when they get back for a handover, just to run through everything that's happened and anything I need to be aware of. But yeah, it's been a very strange time, and we speak once a week. Hina organised a call on a Friday where the whole team gets together, and we all chat on that, and they get an update from me on that. And yeah, ad hoc now and then they probably get a phone call off me every couple of weeks or a couple of texts. So okay, I'm just trying not to really bother them too much, but anything they need to know, I make sure they do know.
Yeah, I think you've made a good point there as well about not over communicating as well for the sake of it. So not including them in every single email is definitely important, and making sure you select only the important ones. You want to make it the right balance, don't you, and not stress them out when they come back having to go through 500 emails from you that actually perhaps they don't need to have.
And I could have done that, so they'll be grateful for me when they come back and don't have 100 emails each.
Perfect. All right. Well, my last question for you, Lewis, is we're coming to the end of the session, so I kind of want to wrap up on final thoughts from all of you. And also, if anyone's got any questions about any of this, just pop it into the chat box and we'll answer those at the end. But kind of final thoughts, what would be your piece of advice? If you had to give one piece of advice around how to keep a team in culture, what would your piece of advice be?
I've thought about this, and I know that we've just said about over communicating not working in this scenario, and you're right, but I think in general the more kind of communication the better, and responsiveness. So making sure that everyone knows roughly what you expect of them, roughly what kind of person you are, and keep being as clear as possible with people. I have a real issue and I don't think something's clear, or I'm not getting enough kind of clarity and I'm speaking to somebody. So my advice would be, in a team, it's always important to be over communicating, especially in person. Maybe you're right now sending 500 emails now, but in general, over communicating and making sure that everybody is very much aware of how you are and what you need and how you can help them, and then being responsive. I think that's a massive part of being in a team, is helping people and being responsive. If someone has asked you for something, reply, even if you're busy. Take some time out, reply, always be available. If you have a missed call, don't wait 12 hours to phone them back. Make sure you get back as quick as you can to them. If you're responsive in your team, people will be responsive to you. So I think being responsive and making sure that you are clear and you communicate with your team as much as you can would be my advice.
Great advice. Love that. I think that's great. Okay, thank you. So Jacques, what's your kind of leaving remarks? What would be your piece of advice?
I think it's just, so again with communication, but I think it's important to show empathy to the current situation we're all in. So, if you're talking to people, if you're sending people messages on Slack, that kind of stuff, like, don't expect immediate replies. People have things to do at home. They might be in the kitchen, sorting themselves out something to eat, getting a drink, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just adapting our communication methods to the situation we find ourselves in, calling in with people when you need to, but generally just show as much empathy as you can. It's hard for everyone. I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, you're right. We're all in the same boat. It's a weird time, isn't it? Okay, so Ian, just over to you.
Okay, I managed to get down to 2 things that I think, to be honest, are of equal importance. Firstly, making sure that all those individual members of a team know their value to what the team's trying to achieve. As a member, exactly what their role gets done for you. And the second one was simply consistency. There's no point in making a group of people feel like a team once a month. They need to feel like a team all the time. It needs to be, again, as Lewis said, a family type environment, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely, and I think, like we've said, consistency is key with this as well, so it's super important. Okay, thanks guys for sharing. There doesn't seem to be any questions, so if you guys have questions, pop them in the chat box. While we do that, I'm just going to show you the next session, so you know. So next week's session is habits, how to make and break them. We've got Hannah, we've got Hetzel, and we've got Chris, who are joining us to talk about how they make and break habits. That's on Wednesday, so it's a later day, so it's not on Tuesday next week, it's on Wednesday for next week at 11 a.m. I'll be sending out an email today with this week's recording, and then obviously the link for that one. But if there's no questions in the chat box, I'm going to leave it there. I want to say thank you to Ian and to Lewis and to Jacques for sharing your insights. It's been really valuable. Hopefully you've all taken something away from it, and just to kind of sum it up, I think the key things they've really talked about is that communication piece. Don't let it drop, and Ian said a really good line there about don't let it be a once a month thing to create that teaming culture. Make sure it's regular and it's updates for people to kind of engage as well with and be part of. Thank you. Hope you have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and the sunshine, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.